Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you guys the best way to survive and thrive in the dungeons. So I'm going to be showing you the best armor, the best swords, and the best pets. Obviously, the higher the floor is, the more you're going to need to pay, so make sure you have a good money making method. So in the entrance floor, this one's pretty easy. You can just go along with just what armor and sword you have. But what I would recommend is get dragon armor that you like. If you're a mage, you can get wise armor or strong armor or superior armor. Obviously, superior is the best. But just get a dragon armor that suits you. And then whichever sword you have, I'd recommend getting an aspect of the dragon or a dreadlord sword for mage. But that's basically it for the entrance floor. Pretty simple. So for floor 1, it's going to get a little bit more complicated. It's still pretty simple though. So you're going to want to get full zombie soldier or zombie knight armor. But if you're a mage, use 2/4 wise with a zombie soldier chestplate and a bonzo mask. I would also recommend going for a bonzo staff if you're a mage. If not, just stay with you whatever you have. For floor 2, just do the same as floor 1. It's going to be almost the same amount of difficulty, but floor 1 has better drops, so just get your catacombs level up a little bit. So for floor 3, it's going to get a little bit more interesting. You're going to want to get full adaptive armor, which is going to adapt to whatever class you are, so it'll give you like strength if you're a berserker, defense if you're a tank, mana if you're a mage, etc, etc. It's a very, very good armor. So for mage, you're going to want to get a frozen scythe and a sheep pet, because those are good, and make sure you have a textbook on the sheep pet, because that's very, very good for intel. So, and if you're a berserker, get 2/4 adaptive, a zombie soldier chestplate, and a bonzo mask, and also a flower of truth and a griffin pet. You can get an uncommon or a rare one. So for floor 3 and below, the only very viable classes are berserker and mage. But floor 4 is where the archer starts to get incorporated a little bit. For floor 4, you're going to want to get 2 to 4 bone meringues. You're going to want to max these as much as you can with stars. You can pay somebody to star them for you, hot potato books and stuff. These are a little bit out of meta, but they're really good for floor 4. And for archer, I would recommend sticking with the armor that you have, except getting a skeleton master chestplate, because this will increase your damage a lot. So for berserker, use an epic baby yeti pet with a dwarf turtle shelmet, so that you can actually tank and do a little bit more damage. And make sure you get a spirit scepter if you're a mage. And for archer and tank, just try to stay like with adaptive armor and whatever just works for you. It's very much up to you and what stats you have, but you gotta make sure that you have fairy souls and good stats before you start going into the higher level of dungeons. So getting into floor 5, this is gonna be a little bit harder. You're gonna want to get at least catacombs 17 or 18, so you can start doing a little bit of damage and you don't have to be carried. So for berserker, you're gonna want to get 3/4 shadow assassin with a zombie knight chestplate. This is for 2 reasons. 1, to save you a little bit of money, and 2, because when you have shadow assassin armor on, you're a little bit squishy and easier to kill. So if you have a zombie knight chestplate, it's a little bit harder for you to get killed. But if you're just clearing and not really engaging that much, you can probably escape with full shadow assassin. Just make sure you max it out as much as you can, and with the zombie knight, recombobulate it if you can, get it legendary or mythic, and just try to max out everything as much as you can whenever you get it. And also for berserker, try to get a livid dagger or flower of truth, or shadow fury with one for all. Livid dagger, get it with one for all. Flower of truth, just max it. One for all is pretty expensive because it's in meta right now, but just try to get the most DPS that you can. In archer, you will finally become the Juju Non that you were meant to be. So you're going to want to get a Juju bow, max it out as much as you can with Soul Eater or Rend, preferably Soul Eater, with 3/4 Shadow Assassin with Zombie Knight chestplate, again for the reasons that I explained earlier. And also get a baby yeti pet, but this time instead of a shell, make it a crochet tiger plushie. So for the attack speed, and reforge all your talismans to help with attack speed if you want. use SPS Optimizer because that is a very, very good bot. You can just find it by typing in your web browser. It shouldn't be that hard to find. So for Mage, you're probably going to want to stick with the armor that you had. What I was using for my floor 5 was Spirit Boots, 2 Force, Zombie Soldier, so leggings and chest plate just for the health and for tanking, and then a Bonzo Mask. Reforged, all of them reforged to necrotic, but obviously you can do whatever you want. You can try to go with adaptive, or you can try to mix in a little bit of Shadow Assassin. And if you would like, you can get a legendary blue whale for the boss fight. So, because if you're dying a lot, you can get a blue whale. You can sacrifice like 200 intel for a lot of health, which would be very good. So for tank, you're going to want to go with full old dragon armor and reforge that to Titanic or Giant, depending on what you like. Giant is health, Titanic is defense. And get a legendary blue whale with Livid Dagger and try to reforge most of your talismans to health. And that's basically it for floor 5. Let's move on to floor 6. So the intro for... Okay. So this floor... So I would recommend running floor 5 a lot so you can get Shadow Assassin chestplate. Make sure you have 6 mil in the bank. But if you don't get it in like 100 runs or so, just move on. But make sure you have a money-making method that suits you. I'm going to link a couple of money-making methods in the top right corner that I made. And I'm going to link some money-making methods down in the description. Some that I made and some that are just overall really good. But you can AH flip, book flip, craft flip, or farm. You can do a sugarcane farm, and then once you have your farming level up, you can go to Netherwart. Just make sure you have tier 3 hose and infinite, which is 3 layers, which is 92%, and 4 layers, which is 100%. And money is very, very, very essential on to this point because the classes get very expensive. So let's start off floor 6 with like the starter gear. So for Berserk, you're going to want to get your Zombie Slayer up to 8 because you're going to be using an Axe of the Shredded. So it is 60 mil and Catacombs 25. If you can afford it, please go for it. So buy a full Shadow Assassin for this floor. You'll be doing so much damage with the AOTS. It's going to be very, very OP. So for Archer, everything's the same. Same with Juju and Boomerangs, but get full Shadow Assassin and get more talismans. Try to upgrade your talismans to max for all of these, which will be like 80 to 100 mil. So for Mage, you're going to want to go 2 Force Necrolord with a perfect chestplate as high as you can go and Shadow Goggles. So make sure to keep your Bonzo Mask very handy for when you get to the terracotta stage because you are going to die when you start out. So this time you really do need to get a blue whale pet for the boss fight because you're not going to have enough health or defense. And get a Midas staff. 100 mil obviously is the best, but if you don't have that money, you can go down to 50 mil. But 50 mil should be the lowest that you're going to get. 75 mil is what you should be aiming for if you have that money, and just max it out as much as you can. And get a Yeti sword, which will cost 140 to 200 mil, depending on how much the prices fluctuate between right now and when I upload this video. So for healer, you're going to want to use the same items as Mage, except instead of using your Shadow Goggles, you're going to want to use your Mender Fedora, and swap out the Midas Staff for a Livid Dagger and a Flower of Truth. That's pretty simple for healer. It's pretty cheap. Obviously, it's not the best, but it's very cheap. So for tank, use the same gear as floor 5, or you can go with full Necromancer Lord armor, but that will be a little bit more expensive, but it will be a little better. So this is the part where you get a floor 7 completion, and you come back to floor 6 so you can get your catacombs level up. So now that you have one floor 7 completion, this is the armor and the stuff that you're going to need. You're going to need 3 Force Necron and a Golden Sidon head. A Diamond Zidane head, you could get one, but it's kind of unnecessary, and you don't really need it. If you're very rich, along with your Axe of the Shredded, you can go for a giant sword with One for All as well, and this will be costing you 175 to 330 mil. Next, we're going to go over the Archer class. So, you're going to want to get a 3/4 Necron armor with, again, a Golden Zidane head. Use the same gear as last time, and try to max your Juju bow as much as you can, and get the Spiritual Reforge. You were probably using Hasty or something, but definitely use Spiritual. This will be about 200 mil. So for Mage, this is going to be almost the same exact thing, except you're going to get 3/4 Storm and Wither Goggles. So, and then you're going to get 100 mil Midas Staff. Like, you can't go any lower if you're going to be grinding this floor a lot. This will cost 150 mil to 250 mil. So for healer, you're going to want to go 2/4 Goldor armor with Necromancer Lord chestplate and a Mender's Fedora, a Livid Dagger, and also a legendary blue whale, and this will cost about 70 mil. So lastly, we're going to go to the tank. So you're going to want to get 3/4 Goldor armor with a Reaper Mask and a Livid Dagger. This will make sure that you have a lot of health and a lot of defense instead of using like perfect armor or something like that. It's a very, very good armor set. You're going to want to also get a Flower of Truth and a Juju Shortbow, which will cost you about 200 million. So now that you're done grinding and you're about kind of 30, maybe even 35, you're going to want to start grinding floor 7 with a good... So for Berserker and Archer, you're going to want to get the same gear as what I talked about before, except switch the Golden Zidane head to a Golden Necron head. For Mage, you're going to want to sell your Midas Staff and get a Hyperion. But obviously, you're not going to have enough money from just selling your Midas Staff, so farm a lot and get a lot of money and just make a lot of money for Hyperion, because you're not going to get into any parties without a Hyperion, and just make sure that you have a good party. For healer, you're going to want to get the same gear as what the Archer had, except get a Mender's Fedora instead of a golden head and a legendary whale. And for tank, get the same gear as you got last floor. So this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about the left click Mage. So you're going to want to get a One for All giant sword. And you're also probably going to want to get a legendary Ender Dragon pet, but if you're kind of broke, you can get a tier boosted Ender Dragon. Get a Warden's helmet instead of a Wither Goggle, and then everything should be the same as last time. Have fun doing all the dungeons that you're going to need to do. I will update this guide if it becomes outdated or out of meta. And if you guys watched the whole video, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. That would really mean the world to me. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.